Good evening, church family. How are you preparing your heart for worship? Let's think about that. When it comes down to it, many of us realize that Sunday runs up to us really fast. And we've been busy with work, busy with kids, busy with all kinds of stuff. And then we show up for worship and sometimes we're really not prepared for it. What do I mean by preparing our heart for worship? One of the things to consider is that God has called us to love Him, but also to be nourished by Him. And if you don't do the preparation that you can, if you're not thinking about worship, if you're not thinking about the things of the Lord, then the reality is not only are you more likely to show up distracted, but you're also more likely to leave and almost feel, what was the point? So it's my encouragement, it's my hope to be able to use this series every week. I know this one came in a little late, but I'm hoping to get these out by Wednesday every week and give you some information, give you some thoughts on how to prepare yourself for worship. So there are 6 components that I want to talk about probably every week. The first is scripture and sermon. The second is our songs. The third is prayer. Fourth is a plan. Fifth and sixth are remind and revere. And we'll talk about those. This is going to be a quick video, an introduction to the series, but I do pray that this helps you this week as we prepare for worship. So, first thing. Let's see. Scripture or sermon. Jeremy and I were talking about it, and it has to do a little bit with what we call, what theologians call the regulative principle of worship. You don't need to remember that term. It's how does God want us to worship Him? And so Jeremy is continuing to go through Exodus chapter 12, verses 42 through 51, and then he's going to hit Exodus 13, 3 through 10. So let's look at that text real quick. So we have, let me see if this works. There we go. Okay. So we have Exodus chapter 12, verses 42 through 51. It says this, and I'm reading out of the Legacy Standard Bible. It's very likely Jeremy will preach out of the New American Standard, but they are very similar. So it says, it is a night to be kept for Yahweh, for having brought them out from the land of Egypt. This night is for Yahweh to be kept by all the sons of Israel throughout their generations. And Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron, this is the statute of the Passover. No foreigner shall eat of it, but every man's slave, purchased with money, after you have circumcised him, then he may eat of it. A foreign resident or a hired person shall not eat of it. It shall be eaten in a single house. You shall not bring forth any of the flesh outside of the house, and you shall not break any bone of it. All the congregation of Israel shall celebrate this. But if a sojourner sojourns with you, and celebrates the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near to celebrate it. And he shall be like a native of the land, but no uncircumcised person may eat of it. The same law shall apply to the native as to the sojourner, who sojourns among you. So all the sons of Israel did as Yahweh had commanded Moses and Aaron, thus they did. And on that same day Yahweh brought the sons of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their hosts. Let's look at Exodus 13, 3 through 10. And Moses said to the people, remember this day in which you went out from Egypt, from the house of slavery. For by a strong hand Yahweh brought you out from this place, and nothing leavened shall be eaten. This day in the month of Abib you are going out. And it shall be when Yahweh brings you to the land of the Canaanites, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall do this service in this month. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a feast to Yahweh, Unleavened bread shall be eaten throughout the 7 days, and nothing leavened shall be seen among you, nor shall any leaven be seen among you all in your borders. And you shall tell your son on that day, saying, It is because of what Yahweh did for me when I came out of Egypt. And it will be a sign to you on your hand, and as a memorial between your eyes, that the law of Yahweh may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand Yahweh brought you out of Egypt. Therefore you shall keep this statute at its appointed time from year to year. So this is our sermon text for the week. I intend to share these with you, like I said, as well on a weekly basis. Maybe if there's other scriptures that I think are primary and relevant, I may share those with you as well. But Jeremy and I are both committed to preaching expositionally and preaching book by book. So we understand that God intended something in writing each of the books that he wrote to us, and we want to convey the fullness of that message each time we preach. So it makes the most sense to take books at a time. We don't just want to jump around all over the place, though there are times for topical sermons. That's something we do try to focus on. Now, getting back into, let's see, there we go. So next, something for us to think about. We will be singing the song by CityAlight called Grace, simply what it's called. So I'm going to go ahead and play just the first section of it to get you thinking about it. This is a song we have played before, and I will put the link to this song in the notes if you want to sing this yourself or with your family before we gather on Sunday morning.
That leads the sinner home from death to life forever, and sings the song of righteousness by blood and not by merit. Your grace that reaches far and wide to every tribe and nation has called my heart to enter in the joy of your salvation. By grace I am redeemed. By grace I am restored, and now I freely walk into the arms of Christ my Lord.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop it there, but I want to encourage you. We sing these songs on Sunday morning. And I encourage you to sing. I encourage you to lift your voice to the Lord. But I will tell you, there are moments I do not sing the songs that are playing as we worship. One of the things I'll do sometimes is just stop and meditate on those words. Stop and pray to God as those words themselves move my spirit. And I encourage you, use this time as you prepare your heart to do that as well. Now, before we close out, like I said, this is simply the first week that I'm doing this, so I'm not intending to go in depth. But a third thing you should do, in addition to taking note of what scriptures we're going to read, what songs we're going to sing, is you should be praying. You should be asking the Lord to give you wisdom, to understand what He wants to teach you on Sunday morning, that He would lead you in worship that glorifies His name. You should pray that the distractions of your life would not hinder you as you gather with the body. You should pray for one another. Pray for your brothers and sisters as they gather to worship as well. The fourth thing is plan. We should be intentional about this. And part of a plan includes the whole family. Whether that is having some sort of family worship time to get them thinking, whether that is praying with them or talking with them Sunday morning. One of the things I'll do a lot is I'll speak to my kids Sunday morning before we worship and just remind them again, why are we going? What is this about? Who is this for? It's not first and foremost about us and for us. It is about giving God the glory that is due his name. And then the last two things. We are doing this. We are preparing our heart because God has given us what we do on Sunday morning. The way we worship is by God's own order and will based on the New Testament, focusing on song and on the supper and on sermons. All of that is to remind us of the grace that we need. It's a good song for this week, isn't it? It's to remind our heart, to remind our mind that God is with us, that he loves us. But secondly, we are going to revere God. We are going to give him the glory. Reverence just has to do with acknowledging that somebody is worthy. God is worthy of our worship. And it is good for us to remember that and to prepare for that, to think to ourselves, how can I lift high the name of God? And one of the greatest ways you can do that is by making sure your heart and your mind and even your body is prepared for Sunday morning worship. Brothers and sisters, think about that and keep loving the Lord your God with all of your mind. God bless.